Ever had someone try to shrink your presence without saying a word? They don't need to insult you. Just a look, a smirk, a silence is enough. But what if you could make them powerless without even speaking? Welcome to Stoic Bridge, the bridge between ancient wisdom and modern life, guiding you through life's storms with calm and resilience. Let's begin today with a question we've all quietly asked ourselves at some point. Why do certain people make us feel invisible? You walk into a room and suddenly your confidence shrinks. They ignore your voice. They dismiss your worth with subtle digs or fake compliments. They expect you to tolerate it, to explain yourself, to prove yourself, again. But here's the shift. What if the moment you stopped reacting, stopped chasing their approval, was the moment they lost their grip over you? It's like standing in the shadow of something that seems large, but only exists because you're shining your light on it. Remove your light, and the shadow vanishes. The same is true for fear. It's not the snake itself, but the fear of it that gives it power. And when you stop fearing the ones who belittle you, they lose their power too. Because truthfully, these people don't need you to fail. They just need you to believe you're not enough. But the moment you stand your ground, when you stop shrinking yourself to fit their comfort, you expose the illusion of their power. And while they waste their time trying to undermine you, you have a quiet, powerful choice. Engage in their drama or rise above it completely. So how do you do that? Calmly, confidently, without saying a word. Stay with me, because what you'll hear next might change the way you handle disrespect forever. Number 1, recognize their insecurity. Imagine you're walking into a room, confident, composed, just being yourself. Then, out of nowhere, someone throws a subtle jab. It's wrapped in a smile, maybe even laughter, but it lands like a punch. You pause. You wonder, did they really just say that? It might be a sarcastic joke that sounds friendly to everyone else, or a passive-aggressive remark that no one catches but you. Maybe it's a dismissive tone, an offhanded "that's cute" when you share something meaningful. Whatever it is, it stings. In that moment, the question arises, what did I do? Why are they treating me this way? And that's where the shift begins, when you understand that their actions aren't actually about you. They're not a response to your flaws, but a reflection of theirs. People who try to make others feel small often do so because they feel small themselves. When someone is truly secure, they have no need to tear others down. Confident people lift others up because they don't see your success as a threat. They don't need to compete with your energy. They're too busy being at peace with who they are. But those who are quietly struggling inside, those battling self-doubt, jealousy, or unhealed wounds, they look for control in the only way they know how, by making others feel less. They use sarcasm to mask their resentment. They disguise envy as honest feedback. They chip away at your confidence because it makes them feel powerful, if only for a moment. It's their defense mechanism, their way of hiding the fact that they feel inadequate. Instead of confronting their own shortcomings, they cast them onto you. And this is where Stoic wisdom becomes your shield. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and master of Stoic philosophy, once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." It's a reminder that you don't need to retaliate. You don't need to argue or prove them wrong. You don't even need to dignify their behavior with a response. You simply need to recognize it for what it is, a cry for validation masked as criticism, a reflection of their own internal conflict. Let me share a real story. There's a man I know. Let's call him James. He's disciplined, hardworking, always going the extra mile. But there was a colleague at his office who constantly belittled him in subtle ways. If James received praise from the boss, this colleague would say, "Well, let's see if you can keep it up." If James shared an idea in a meeting, the same person would respond with, "That's interesting, but I think we need something more serious." It wasn't loud, it wasn't obvious, but it was relentless. At first, James was shaken. He started questioning himself, wondering if maybe deep down he wasn't as capable as he thought. But then came the moment of clarity. This colleague wasn't reacting to James's failures, he was reacting to James's growth. The better James performed, the more threatened this person became. And so James made a decision. No more reacting, no defending, no trying to win an invisible battle. Instead, he kept his head down, focused on his goals, stayed aligned with his purpose, and slowly the belittling lost its effect. Because when you stop feeding someone's insecurity, they lose the power to control you. So what should you do when someone tries to make you feel small? First, pause and recognize what's really happening. Their words are not a reflection of your value, they're a reflection of their inner chaos. Second, don't take the bait. Stay grounded, stay emotionally untouchable, and finally, keep moving forward. The best way to respond is not through words, but through your continued strength, calm, and self-respect. At the end of the day, you are not responsible for healing someone else's insecurity. That's their journey, not yours. Let them wrestle with their own shadows while you rise into your light. Up next, let's explore how to stay unshaken when their words try to break your peace. Number 2. Stay unshaken by their words. Words can feel like weapons. Sometimes they come out of nowhere, sharp, careless, or meant to sting. A stranger's rude comment, a friend's backhanded compliment, a coworker's quiet dig that makes you second-guess yourself, and your first instinct to fight back, to defend your name, to prove that you're more than what they just implied. But here's a deeper truth, one that changes everything. You are not the opinion someone else has of you. You are not defined by their criticism, their sarcasm, or their petty remarks. Their words only have as much power as you choose to give them. Think about that for a moment. When someone insults you, when they go out of their way to criticize or belittle you, they're looking for something. They're fishing for a reaction. They want to see you flinch, to look unsettled, to start doubting yourself. Why? Because the moment you react emotionally, they gain control. You hand them the reins to your peace of mind, and in that moment, whether you realize it or not, you let them steer how you feel. But here's where Stoic strength steps in. When you choose calm over chaos, when you refuse to take their words personally, you take that power back. Completely. Marcus Aurelius said it best. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. In simpler terms, it's not what was said, but how you interpret it. Let that sink in. Someone can throw harsh words your way, but if you don't absorb them, if you choose to see them as noise rather than truth, they pass right through you. They lose their sharpness, their sting, their weight. That's the real power of inner stillness. Let me give you a real-world example. There's a man I know. Let's call him David. David was a quiet achiever, good at what he did, but he worked with someone who always had something negative to say. If David hit a milestone, the coworker would say, "Well, let's see if you can do it again." If he shared a new idea, the coworker would say, "Are you sure you thought that through?" At first, David internalized it. He got angry. He replayed the words in his head at night. He started doubting himself. But one day, it dawned on him. Why am I letting this person rent space in my mind? Why am I handing them control over my peace? So David changed his approach. He stopped reacting. When the coworker made a sarcastic comment, David simply smiled and moved on. When criticized unfairly, he let his work speak instead of his words. He didn't retaliate. He didn't complain. He just remained grounded, focused. And something incredible happened. That coworker eventually lost interest because without a reaction, there was nothing left to feed on. That's the lesson. When you stop reacting, you stop fueling their power over you. Their words become what they truly are, just noise in the background. So how do you stay unshaken? First, remind yourself, their words don't define you. You decide what gets in and what stays out. Second, resist the pull to react emotionally. Stay composed. Let silence be your strength. And finally, focus on your own journey, your growth, your peace. Let them talk. Let them speculate. But never let them disrupt the calm you've worked so hard to build. Because your strength, it doesn't come from proving people wrong. It comes from knowing, deep down, that nothing they say can shake what's rooted within you. In the next part, let's talk about a response even more powerful than calm, indifference, and why ignoring them might just be your greatest weapon. Number 3, respond with indifference. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is absolutely nothing. Picture this. Someone throws a snide comment your way in a meeting. They roll their eyes when you speak or chuckle just loud enough for you to hear after you share an idea. It stings, right? You feel the heat rise in your chest. You want to say something, to shut it down, to prove that you won't just stand there and take it. But what if the most powerful move is to not move at all? Let's talk about one of the most underrated and powerful responses to disrespect: indifference. When someone mocks you, criticizes you unfairly, or tries to chip away at your confidence, they're not just speaking into the air. They're fishing. What they really want is a reaction. They want to see you stumble, to get upset, to look rattled. Because that reaction, it gives them exactly what they're craving: control. They don't actually need to win an argument. They just want to know that they can get under your skin. But here's the twist. When you respond with calm, unbothered indifference, you take all that power away from them in an instant. You become untouchable. Indifference is not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's control. It's the quiet strength of knowing you're above the game and choosing not to play it. Because here's the truth. You don't have to argue. You don't have to prove anything. And you certainly don't need to lower yourself just to meet their level of bitterness. Instead, you stay still. You stay calm. You keep your peace. And that, more than any clever comeback, drives them crazy. Because the one thing an insecure person can't stand is being ignored. They want to shake your world. But when they see that you're completely unmoved, it breaks the illusion that they have any control at all. This is exactly where Stoic wisdom steps in. Seneca once said, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings." That kind of silence isn't passive, it's earned. It comes from inner strength, from knowing that not every insult deserves your energy, not every battle is worth stepping into, and not every challenge requires your attention. Sometimes the greatest power move is no move at all. Let me share a story. There's a man I know, let's call him Alex. He had a coworker who made it a mission to undermine him. Every meeting was a battlefield. The coworker would make sarcastic comments, roll their eyes, and poke holes in everything Alex contributed. At first, Alex was tempted to respond, to clap back, to defend his work and protect his image. But then, he chose something different. He stopped reacting. He stayed neutral. Even when provoked, he responded with silence. He kept his focus, stayed on task, and let his actions speak instead of his words. And over time, a shift happened. The coworker began to lose steam. With no reaction to feed on, their jabs landed flat. Their power faded. Eventually, they gave up because indifference starves ego. So how do you build this kind of inner resilience? First, remind yourself that someone's opinion of you is only as important as the value you assign to it. Most of the time, their words are just noise. background static. Second, resist the urge to explain, to argue, or to justify yourself. Silence can say more than words ever will. And finally, walk away mentally. Detach. Free yourself from the grip of their negativity. Because when you stop caring what they think, they no longer have any influence over how you feel. At the end of the day, you don't have to fight every battle. Let them waste their words. Let them throw their energy into trying to provoke you. You stay still, unbothered, rooted, because your indifference isn't just avoidance, it's your armor. And no one, not even the loudest critic, can take that strength away from you. Now let's explore another powerful response: how to let your actions, not your words, speak louder than anything they say. Number 4, let your actions speak. There's something deeply powerful about quiet strength. It doesn't shout, it doesn't argue, it doesn't seek approval, and yet it changes everything. When someone tries to make you feel small, your first instinct might be to push back, to correct them, to explain your worth, to demand that they see you clearly. But here's a timeless truth. Real confidence never begs to be seen. Let's talk about one of the most effective responses to criticism: doubt and condescension, letting your actions do the talking. When someone belittles you, rolls their eyes at your ambition, mocks your dreams, or speaks to you like you're not capable, your ego might rise up, ready to fight, to defend your vision, to say, "You'll see." But the truth is, words rarely change hearts. Arguments rarely shift minds, and explanations rarely silence judgment. Actions do. When you succeed in silence, when you rise steadily without engaging in drama, you don't just prove them wrong, you make their words irrelevant. Because the moment you stop seeking their validation and start pouring every ounce of your energy into growth, you begin to take your power back. Their insults, they become background noise. Their doubt, fuel for your progress. And every step you take forward, no matter how small, is a quiet but undeniable rebuttal to every voice that ever said you weren't enough. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes a guiding light. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." He meant, you don't need to justify your beliefs. You don't need to convince people of your capability. You don't owe anyone your resume, your plan, or your reasoning. You just need to live it, consistently, calmly, relentlessly. Show your values through the way you carry yourself. Let your results speak volumes. Let your discipline, your patience, and your growth be your voice. Let me tell you about someone who mastered this mindset. A man I know, let's call him Daniel, was constantly underestimated. Friends, family, co-workers, they all had something to say. You? Start a business? Good luck. Maybe set your sights a little lower. That's not really your lane, is it? At first, Daniel felt the urge to respond, to explain his vision, to defend his dreams. But something in him shifted. Instead of arguing, he went quiet. He stopped sharing his plans. He focused entirely on execution, on showing up every single day, especially when no one was watching. He worked in silence, failed in silence, learned in silence, and then he succeeded. Slowly, the same people who once mocked him began to change their tone. They weren't laughing anymore. They were watching. They were asking questions. Some were even seeking advice. Why? Because success, genuine, earned success, is undeniable. So how do you handle people who belittle your path? First, stop explaining yourself. You don't owe anyone a justification for your goals, your pace, or your process. Second, redirect your energy. Let them waste time with gossip and criticism while you use that time to evolve. And finally, trust that your growth will speak for itself. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to argue to be right. You don't need to prove anything, except to yourself. Because the greatest response to those who doubt you is not in the words you say, but in the heights you reach. Let your actions be your statement. Let your results be your response. And let your success write the ending they never saw coming. Coming up next, we'll talk about how to protect that growth by setting unshakable boundaries that guard your peace and keep you focused on your path. Number 5, set firm boundaries. Imagine your energy as a sacred garden. Every person you let in either nurtures that space or tramples it. And sometimes the people who smile the most are the ones pulling up your roots. Let's talk about one of the most essential skills for emotional and mental peace, setting firm boundaries. When someone constantly undermines you, belittles your efforts, or subtly chips away at your confidence, you face a quiet but critical choice. Do you stay silent and hope they stop? Or do you step up and draw the line? Here's the truth that many avoid. You are not obligated to stay where you are not respected. Some people feed on making others feel small. It gives them a false sense of control, a temporary illusion of superiority. They test your patience. They ignore your discomfort. And they keep pushing, not because you're weak, but because you haven't said no yet. If you don't set boundaries, they will assume you have none. And if you keep tolerating disrespect, they will treat that tolerance as permission. But the moment you say, "This stops here," the moment you protect your peace over their approval, you reclaim your power. This is where Stoic wisdom offers profound clarity. Epictetus once said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." If you're constantly trying to be liked, constantly seeking acceptance from people who devalue you, you are giving them control over your sense of worth. You're outsourcing your peace, and it comes at a cost. True self-respect means refusing to negotiate your dignity. It means choosing your own well-being over someone else's comfort. Let me tell you a story. There's a woman I know. Let's call her Sarah. She had a friend who, on the surface, was supportive, but always found a way to put her down. Whenever Sarah talked about a new project or shared a small victory, this friend would say things like, "Oh, that's cute," or "Well, that's impressive for someone like you." It was always subtle, always wrapped in laughter, but always dismissive. For a long time, Sarah tried to brush it off. She thought maybe she was too sensitive, that she just needed to not take things so seriously. But the truth was undeniable. This wasn't support. This was a pattern of control, or of keeping her small. One day, Sarah had enough. She stopped explaining herself, stopped making excuses for her so-called friend, and most importantly, she created distance. Not with drama, not with a long explanation, just a clear, firm boundary. I won't make space for someone who refuses to respect mine, and almost instantly, the emotional weight lifted. She didn't need to win an argument, she just needed to protect her peace. So how do you set firm boundaries? First, remember that you don't owe anyone unlimited access to your energy. Time, trust, and attention are privileges, not entitlements. Second, stop explaining yourself to people who repeatedly cross the line. A boundary doesn't need an essay, it needs conviction. And finally, be willing to walk away, because sometimes silence and space are your loudest statements. If someone refuses to respect your worth, the strongest move you can make is to remove yourself. At the end of the day, you teach people how to treat you, not by what you say, but by what you allow. So if someone consistently tries to make you feel small, choose to protect your peace. Because the more you guard your energy, the more powerful, focused, and unshakable you become. In the next section, we'll explore how to turn even their negativity into your fuel, transforming every insult into a reason to rise. Number 6, turn their negativity into fuel. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain. The climb ahead looks steep. The voices around you echo with doubt. You're not cut out for this. You'll never make it. It's too much for someone like you. Now ask yourself, what do you do with those voices? Do you let them weigh you down, or do you let them power your next step? Let's talk about one of the most powerful mindset shifts you'll ever make, turning negativity into fuel. When someone tries to belittle you, question your abilities, or dismiss your dreams, you have two very different paths in front of you. You can let their words discourage you. You can shrink. You can internalize their doubt and slow yourself down. Or you can turn their doubt into drive, their criticism into clarity, their negativity into raw fuel for your ascent. That's the path of strength. That's the path of transformation. Here's the truth. Weak people crumble under criticism, but the strong, they take every insult, every dismissive look, every you can't, and turn it into a reason to go harder, to grow faster, to reach further than anyone expected. And when you do that, you don't just rise. You rise in a way they never saw coming. People who try to drag others down are often wrestling with their own unspoken failures. They want you to give up because they've already given up on themselves. They want you to fall because seeing you succeed reminds them that they never tried. But here's where the shift happens. The best revenge is not a clever comeback. It's undeniable success. This is where Stoic wisdom speaks deeply to our modern lives. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Just like lifting weights tears muscle to rebuild it stronger, every bit of adversity you face shapes a more powerful version of you. Every challenge strengthens your focus. Every obstacle builds mental toughness. And every rude remark, every dismissive word becomes an unexpected gift, a spark that sharpens your ambition. Let me share a story. There's a man I know, let's call him Jake. Jake always dreamed of building something on his own, but when he told his family he wanted to start a business, they laughed. You don't have what it takes. When he shared his vision with his friends, they scoffed. Be realistic, stick to what you know. Jake could have believed them. He could have backed down, but instead he made a choice. He used every word of doubt as fuel. Every insult became another log on the fire. Every piece of negativity lit the path ahead. And he worked. Silently, steadily, relentlessly. Years later, the same people who once mocked him were asking for advice. The ones who said he wouldn't make it now admired how far he had come. So how do you do the same? First, stop taking their doubt personally. Their negativity reflects them, not you. Second, reframe every insult as energy. Instead of feeling discouraged, ask yourself, how can I use this to push harder, focus deeper, grow faster? And finally, focus on results, not revenge. Don't waste time convincing anyone to believe in you. Let your results become your voice. Let your progress speak louder than your pain. Because at the end of the day, negativity only has the power you allow it to have. So when someone tries to bring you down, don't argue. Don't fight back. Just climb higher. Let their doubt become the fire beneath your feet. And show them, without saying a word, that the very things meant to break you became the reason you soared. In the next section, we'll talk about one of the most life-changing decisions you can make. Choosing the people who surround you and making sure they lift you higher. Number 7, surround yourself with those who uplift you. Think of your life as a journey through a dense forest. Every step you take is influenced not just by the path ahead, but by the people walking beside you. Some will light the way, others will pull you into the shadows. That's why one of the most important decisions you'll ever make is choosing who you allow in your circle. Because whether you realize it or not, the people around you are shaping your future. They either build you up or slowly chip away at your confidence. They either push you toward your highest potential or keep you tethered to fear and self-doubt. Here's the simplest truth, and the hardest to accept. The right people will never need to put you down to lift themselves up. If someone constantly belittles your ideas, questions your dreams, or drains your energy every time you speak your truth, it's not your job to keep proving your worth to them. Your job is to walk away and seek out better company. Because here's the reality: your environment is not neutral. It either nurtures your growth or poisons it. If you surround yourself with people who believe in you, who challenge you to be better, who clap for your progress without envy, you naturally rise. You feel stronger, more inspired, more capable. But if you remain close to those who doubt you, mock your ambition, or subtly make you feel like you're too much, that negativity seeps in, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, until one day you look in the mirror and barely recognize your own fire. This is where Stoic wisdom offers timeless clarity. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." In other words, don't just let people into your life because they're familiar. Let them in because they elevate you, because they want to see you rise, not shrink. Let me share a story. There's a woman I know. Let's call her Emily. She had big dreams. She wanted to launch a project, start something meaningful. But every time she shared those dreams with her friends, she was met with doubt. "Are you sure you can handle that? That sounds risky. Maybe just stick to something safer." They weren't cruel. They weren't even loud about it, but the message was clear. Stay small. Don't aim too high. And for a while, Emily listened. She second-guessed herself, hesitated, froze, until one day, she made a choice. She stopped sharing her dreams with people who didn't believe in them. She found a new circle, people who saw her potential, who said, "Go for it," who asked, "How can I help?" And that changed everything. Emily began to move forward, not because her abilities changed, but because her environment did. So how can you do the same? First, pay attention to how you feel around people. Do they make you feel inspired or inadequate, seen or silenced? Second, be willing to let go, even if they've been in your life for years. If someone constantly makes you feel small, they don't deserve access to your inner world. And finally, seek out those who challenge you to rise, the ones who push you toward growth, who celebrate your victories and help you through setbacks, who make your fire burn brighter, never dimmer, because at the end of the day, you are a reflection of the people you keep close. Choose wisely, because the right people won't just support you, they'll make you unstoppable. In the final section, we'll talk about the foundation of it all, remembering your worth and why no one can take it from you unless you let them. Number 8, remember your own worth. Imagine this. You walk into a room, head high, heart open, but someone looks at you in a certain way. They speak with a tone that cuts a little too sharp. They question your ideas, your choices, even your presence. And suddenly you begin to question yourself. Have you ever felt that shift, that internal shrinking? Like your value is slipping through your own fingers just because someone else didn't see it? But here's a truth you must hold on to with both hands. No one can make you feel small unless you allow them to. The way people treat you, that's on them. But the way you respond, that's entirely on you. If someone tries to belittle you, dismiss your efforts, or cast doubt on your worth, their words only carry power if you invite them in and let them take root. And once they're in your mind, they start to grow, twisting your thoughts, choking your confidence. But you get to choose what stays and what gets thrown out. Self-respect begins the moment you stop letting others define you. The reality is, people will always talk. They'll project their fears, their limitations, their insecurities onto you. They'll say, you're not capable when really they never believed they were. They'll say you're not enough because deep down they feel like they're not. But just because they say it doesn't make it true. Ask yourself, if someone calls you unworthy, does that erase the effort you've put in, the growth you've fought for, the skills you've honed, the dreams you've nurtured in silence? Absolutely not. Their words only carry weight if you hand it to them. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes your armor. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." In other words, your value is not found in the labels others put on you, but in the fire that drives you forward. If you're working towards something meaningful, if you're striving every day to be stronger, kinder, wiser, then no critic, no voice of doubt can take that away from you. Your worth is not a vote. It's not up for debate. It's a decision. Your decision. Let me share a story. There's a man I know, let's call him Ryan. He worked in an environment that constantly undervalued him. He brought results, ideas, solutions, but somehow there was always someone ready to criticize. Every step forward was met with a question mark. Every success was met with a but. At first, Ryan internalized it. He started doubting himself, replaying their words in his mind, wondering if he truly had what it takes. But then something changed. He realized he was giving away his power, letting other people's opinions become his mirror. He was living in reaction, not intention. So he made a decision. He stopped seeking their approval, stopped trying to win their praise. He started focusing inward on his goals, his craft, his peace, and almost immediately he began to rise. Not just in results, but in how he carried himself. And here's the beauty of it. The moment Ryan stopped needing their validation was the moment he became unshakable. So how do you remember your worth? First, remind yourself again and again that you are not what others say. You are what you believe, what you build, what you overcome. Second, build your confidence through action. Every day you show up for yourself, especially when it's hard. You prove your worth to the only person who truly matters, you. And finally, never shrink to make others comfortable. If someone tries to make you feel small, it's because your light reminds them of their own darkness. Stand tall anyway, because at the end of the day, your worth is yours to claim, yours to carry, and yours to protect. So stop waiting for permission. Stop letting their words echo louder than your own. Move through the world with the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly what they bring to the table and knows that no one has the power to take that away. Not a critic, not a doubter, not a single voice of negativity. You've now reclaimed your strength from every corner, your silence, your circle, your purpose, and your worth. Let's close out this journey together. Before we close, let's take a quiet moment to reflect. Today, we explored how to reclaim your power when others try to make you feel small. We began by recognizing that those who belittle you are often battling their own insecurities. Then we talked about the strength of staying calm in the face of judgment, how composure silences chaos. We moved on to the power of indifference and why ignoring someone's attempts to hurt you is sometimes the loudest response. Then we learned to let our actions speak for us, because success will always say more than words ever can. We drew our lines through firm boundaries, protecting our peace with intention. We lit the fire of transformation by turning their negativity into fuel. We examined the importance of our circle, choosing to walk with those who lift, not drain us. And finally, we arrived at the heart of it all, remembering your own worth and never letting anyone take that away from you. Because in the end, how you value yourself shapes the entire way the world reflects back at you. If you've stayed with me through this entire journey, thank you. Your presence here matters more than you know. If today's message stirred something in you, if it made you pause, reflect, or even stand a little taller, I'd love to know. Drop a simple thank God in the comments. It tells me this message reached the heart it was meant to find. And if you found even a single insight worth remembering, go ahead and click that like button. It helps more than you think. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and hit the bell icon so you never miss when a new message drops. There's more to explore, more to grow, and we'll walk that path together, one quiet, powerful step at a time. Until next time, stay grounded, stay wise, and above all, stay true to who you are.